If you're a singer, we have a reputation for being neurotically focused on what goes in our bodies and what we do with our voices, and don't laugh if you're Celine Dion and all that stuff. But it's for real. We don't have anything between us and our instrument.
She is a songwriter, singer, session vocalist, educator, and coach.
She's played intimate music clubs, global arenas, and duetted and harmonized with acts like Enrique Iglesias and Julia Fordham.
Celia Chavez tunes in on today's episode. My name is Nancy Magarill. I'm a singer, songwriter, composer, performer, graphic and web designer.
And I'm Peter Michael Marino, and I'm a writer, producer, creator, performer, and educator.
We are New York-based artists you may or may not have heard of.
And we are here to introduce you to other artists you may or may not have heard of.
When the love comes down like a curtain falls, all you hear is the loud, loud heartbeat call. And all the checkered flags couldn't stop their car until you jump the track, till you've gone too far.
Celia, hello and welcome to Arts and Craft. It's so good to have you on finally after us talking about it for so long.
I know. Thanks for having me. It's great to be on with you guys.
All the way from Los Angeles.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Now, how long have you lived in LA, actually?
Oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I've lived here. It will be 18 years this August,
Wow.
which is crazy.
So you like it?
I do now. Now it feels like home. It took me fully, I can't remember exactly, between 6 and 8 years before I felt like when I was landing at LAX, I felt like I was coming home. It took that long.
Wow.
Not at all like New York, which just, I don't know how to explain it. New York is just, I just like landed and it was the place.
From Seattle, right? Seattle was
yeah,
first
that's
and then New York. And why did you not stay with us here? What
You
did
know
we do
what?
to you?
It wasn't an easy decision. I was actually in a relationship at the time, and that person was bi-coastal, and then it just seemed like one of my goals was to get on tours as a backup singer, and it seemed
Which you did brilliantly.
Yes, I was very lucky,
Yeah.
and that worked out. That did happen, but that was one of my goals. And at that time, it felt like there were more tours getting, auditioning and getting cast and stuff out here in LA.
What tours did you do? I want to know.
Well, let's see. The very first one I did out of here was with, do you know Julia Fordham? Do you know that
Yeah,
artist?
of course.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I quote her almost every day.
You do?
Really?
I love that song, Don't Push the River.
Oh, I don't know if
Yeah, I
I
don't know
actually
that
know that
song.
one.
Don't
Yeah.
push. I'll try to sing it like her. Don't push the river. Let it carry you.
You know what's interesting
Oh, no.
about
Okay, I do that one.
I want to say something about her voice, and I think this is an interesting thing to think about, for me at least. This is a woman with an extremely unique voice. And one of the things about being an excellent backup singer is that you have to learn how to blend with a voice that is so different than yours. That was never something I really was able to do because I also have such a weird voice. But I think that you have an ability, you have your own voice, which is this beautiful voice, but then you also have an ability to blend with someone like that, which is really a gift.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks for recognizing that. Yeah, it is a different way of singing, like as opposed to as a singer-songwriter,
Yeah.
like you are and like I am as well. It's a different voice because you have to somehow enhance what they're doing and support what they're doing without grabbing center, or without your voice taking center or distracting. It's tricky, and the only way I know how to explain it is to like kind of demonstrate it. I mean, it's a way of opening your tone up
Yeah.
so that there's room for them to like just lay in it like a hammock. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Does that make
It's-
sense?
It's interesting too that when I did my bad or maybe good impersonation of Julia Fordham's song,
You actually that was a good impression.
that your response was, mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, she's got that low range. Because I think that's the
Yeah.
thing about Julia, right? She's got like this weird, I mean, it's not quite,
She has an amazing range.
yeah,
And
right? And if she really gets low, like a
Yes.
male bass, it's like, it's astounding.
And she's a very unique timbre in her voice.
yes, that's
It's
very true.
really unique.
Because you treat my skin like porcelain.
Just
Yes.
like that.
I love it.
You know what's something I'm noticing? You instinctively took one ear off your headphones, which singers do in the studio. Well, I don't do that while I'm doing this because I want to make sure there's no bleed because sometimes it can
Okay.
it can affect certain things if there's.
Well, see, I've got
Bluetooth
this
or things like
lovely
that.
insulation here.
Yeah.
That's your hair.
My
That's your
hair.
hair.
Right.
That's my hat. I'm wearing a hat. That's my insulation. Nancy's got big headphones on.
But there's
Right.
something really weird that happens that people don't always understand. You have to teach young singers about this, that you have to take one ear off because if you listen to yourself in the cans, you're going to go off key. And Joy Askew taught me that.
Yes.
And I didn't believe her because I remember she was like, "You're going off pitch," because I had both cans on, and I'm like, "What do you mean?" She taught me that one of my first recording sessions that I did with her, and I had no idea that happens. And I think it's so interesting, right? Because people think they can hear themselves and stay in tune, and
They're different spaces, though, aren't they? They're different
Yeah.
acoustic spaces. This small space around your ear, and then the room. And I find that I overtalk for some reason if I'm only in cans. Like if I'm doing an interview like this, where we're all wearing headphones to manage the speaker sound. Yeah, for some reason I overtalk. So
Oh,
this
you know
way
the
I feel like I
difference?
speak more normally.
I can't hear myself in my cans when I'm recording on these, so it's not. It might be a different thing when you can hear yourself. I don't know. Though maybe I still overtalk anyway.
That's why
Maybe we
like,
need to look at
yeah.
your monitor output, like
Yeah,
headphone
I don't
output
care.
on your,
It doesn't
on your
bother me.
DAW.
Did you not listen to our last episode, Nancy, where we talked to a sound mixer?
I know,
Can we
right?
get some
She's
input?
not a mixer. She was a mastering engineer.
A master
mastering
engineer.
engineer,
Mastering
that's
engineer.
right.
You're right. Correct. So wait, I have to go back.
I know,
So
other tours.
yeah, I want to know more tours. But generally, when you're auditioning for these tours, does it start right away that you're singing with the singer? Is that, or does you get to that point?
Well, let's see. With Julia, that was a referral, and so I did go straight to rehearsal.
Nice.
I think there wasn't really an audition.
And you have to make sure you get along with the other two people who are singing backup.
Well, however
It
many.
depends. I mean, with the band, you definitely want a good fit in a touring band.
Yeah, you don't want to
just
be on
in
the
a-
road with people you don't get along with.
Well, no, because you're basically stuck on a rolling house with
Yeah.
everybody for weeks at a time or months at a time. And I think that you get this simulated family experience. It's like the traveling circus, when you're on tour. Have both of you been on tour before?
I was on tour with Stomp, and that's a very
Oh, yeah.
different beast to be on tour with.
Ah.
That is full
Were you
on.
on with Everett Bradley when he was
Yeah.
there? Oh, okay. Cool. Very cool.
Everett actually taught me the show in New York. He did a couple of spots when we were on tour, but Everett's one of my besties, and we haven't had him on the podcast.
We actually talked
okay.
about it on the podcast.
Do you sing?
Yeah.
Do you sing with Everett?
I was one of the original Funk Angels in Holodelic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
In the
I
show,
saw
the Christmas
that.
show.
Wow. Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
very first show. Wow.
Oh, cool.
You were in it for years. I actually missed you when I went to see it this year. I was like, God.
I missed that show so much.
Yeah, what a
So
fun show that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
You get
so
to dress up.
Who
It's
else
great.
did you tour with?
I toured. Okay, so after that, I did a promotional tour with Pink.
Ooh.
And so that was the first
Love
promo
her.
tour of that, that was that, like lots of TV and that sort of thing. We did the.
Did you have to
video.
fly? Or you
Yeah. Yes.
You
we
did?
We flew. Yeah. It was.
Did you have to?
Do we have to be got
I
to
like
fly?
that, right?
Well, and the thing is that I learned about. I'd never flown business class before, and that was really
Oh.
nice.
I'm
And you're
sorry.
like,
I
"No,
was
I'm not
talking
doing that."
about flying on stage because she's always
Oh.
flying.
Oh, fly!
I was like, wow, they put all the backup singers on cables and hoisted them into the air.
No. I think just her, and I haven't actually. Maybe her dancers, but no, we just.
I'm sorry.
No.
I don't know how she does that and sings, and that's crazy.
She's an incredible performer. She
Yeah.
trains really hard. She sings. Her warm up is like way harder than I would normally sing. Stronger. I don't mean harder like in
Yeah.
an incorrect way.
Really?
She's a very athletic performer for sure.
Yeah.
But she's
a
also really
phenomenal
graceful.
singer. She's a phenomenal singer.
Yeah.
Was Michael Paris also on that tour?
No.
No. All right. Just dropping names, folks. I'm just dropping names.
No. So I did Pink promo tour, and then I did well, the big one for that I was on for 7 years is Enrique Iglesias.
What's his phone number?
I can't give that to you.
And she wasn't just a backup singer. You also were featured.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
featured. It was funny because I thought of Joy asking when I was on that tour and how she got to, when she was, I think, on Peter Gabriel's tour.
Yeah, Peter
got to step
Gabriel, and did she do that with
Did
Elvis
she do that with Joe
Costello?
Jackson?
Oh, Joe Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's very rare, I think, that backup singers in the band get to step out like that. I was a featured duet performer with him, and they were romantic duets, so it was very visible. It was the first time that I had myself projected on a huge like IMAX size screen in an arena. Wow, nothing makes you worry about your skin more than having your
I
face
mean, God.
how many stories tall. And so that was the last tour that I did before
Well, COVID hit.
COVID.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that was really recently. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you, I mean, maybe, I guess referring to like the the Enrique tour, did you have like a persona? Was there sort of like a different, was there something different about who this lady was that we saw on stage than we might have seen in one of the other tours?
I mean, well, I think in general, when I'm a backup singer, I suit the artist's vision of what they want on stage, much as you would in the theatrical show. I think
Yeah. You're playing a role.
I'm playing a role, and
Right.
I'm supporting the music with Julia. We dress very elegantly, like for club, or theater or something like that. And you've heard her music; it's very elegant, sophisticated, and mature themes. And Pink is very rock and roll, so I wore black rock and roll, black high-heeled leather boots, and shorts. Same thing on Enrique's tour. He wanted us to look like a rock band, so that's what I wore. I wore short shorts and high heels, and
And were you guys highly choreographed?
some. And then the rest of it, we just kind of got to use the stage and interact with the arena crowd and stuff. It was really
how fun.
What is it like? What is it like?
It's amazing.
I went to see Kylie Minogue this weekend at Madison Square
how
Garden.
fun!
And so did
mean-
every other gay man in Manhattan.
Yes, correct. They were all there, and they are all cute. It's actually kind of cool. She has like a very wide age range of people at her shows, which I was impressed with. And her opening act, Romy, is a British singer who has like a very sort of I don't know, almost like a folk voice, but her music is electronic. So it was a really nice.
That's kind
And
of cool.
at some
Oh, I
point,
know Romy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
at some point, she just said, like, I just can't believe in my wildest dreams I never pictured myself jumping up and down at Madison Square Garden, And then Kylie, like 3 times, had these emotional, I'm doing air quotes because I know some of it is performative, but these very emotional moments of like, I am in New York City at Madison Square Garden. Then I thought, wow, if it's amazing for me in the 200 shitty seats watching this massive thing happen, what is it like to be on stage and just feeling that energy and seeing thousands of people lip syncing along with what everyone's singing on stage?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Well, it's quite crazy. It's surreal. It's almost out of body, except that it's so powerful. The like when you do hear the crowd, it's really loud, and you can feel that you feel the energy. Well, you can feel it as an audience member, the energy in an arena.
Right.
When you're on stage, it's all in front of you.
Right.
And we would actually have a long thrust with a stage out behind the sound man, the front of house. So we would go out into the crowd.
Oh,
and be
that's great.
looking up at them, and they were all around us, which is also unique. But the thing, you mentioned Madison Square Garden, and I swear, you guys, I lived in New York for several years, and I could never afford a ticket to go see anything. I don't mean to sound like I was, poor, but like I could not justify paying the prices on tickets there, and they weren't even that much. But that's how poor I felt, at least, And I used to work at a nonprofit on 10th and 34th, and so when the first time it wasn't the first time. The first time we were kind of in and out, so I didn't really have too much time during the day. But the second time we did Madison Square Garden, I walked to my old office down 34th Street and
Oh,
like looked at and like
wow.
I had been, dreamed that one day I would, and then
Yeah.
I walked back down the street and I went to work. I went in the
And
back
you
door. I
sobbed.
went
We
into
had to
work.
sob at some point in there because I'm feeling like sobbing right now. I just
Yeah,
love this.
it was
Yeah,
really
it's pretty
it is really
wonderful.
powerful when you play a venue like that. When I played, I got to sing at Wembley Arena, and there were 100,000 people there. And you just don't, when you're playing the clubs, and you're singing covers at a wedding or something, you don't have a reference point for this.
Mm.
So it's challenging in some ways, but it is so exhilarating to do that.
How does it feel taking that energy into your gigs when you're doing your music? Do you take that? Do you still feel that you're that person when you're doing your music?
No.
So that's
No.
interesting. Can you do that at all, or
You know what? I've started to, after so many years, and I did, actually, if you listen to my live record that I did at the Rockwood Music Hall, stage 2, there is that energy. One, the guys in the band are my band, are in my band. And so like I had spent months traveling with them, felt so safe with them and so free with them backing me
Yeah.
up. And like, I didn't have to direct them. Our communication was really, really easy. And so the music was really free and super fun. And I remember that being like something else just took over and sang my songs for me and played the guitar for me. It was, that was an experience. When I am playing my own music, I think because it's my own words and I'm the one responsible for the message and the vision, it does feel like more pressure. And I overthink it because I'm also producing the experience, and it's more difficult than just like someone says, you do this is what you sing, you look like this, you have all the pieces and you just have to show up and perform, and you're not responsible for what the audience experience is supposed to be. Does that make sense?
although I think there's something to be said for taking that performative energy into live shows doing your own pieces. Like I understand what you're saying because I've experienced that too, and I have also experienced the total total freedom of letting go of everything and just being a performer, not the person who wrote the songs, not the player and the guitar, not any of that, and just letting loose and being I don't want to say star, but being that messenger, that person performing in the moment. And I actually sometimes try to approach it that way, especially because I've spent some times where I get really nervous before a performance. And so I like to go, okay, turn that on, like turn on the actor, that performer role to take me out of that self-conscious stuff that's going on.
That's got to happen when you're on tour for a while as well.
Absolutely.
That you are. I mean, I say this to a lot of I direct a lot of solo show people, and they are doing long runs like the Edinburgh Festival. They're doing the show every day, same time for a whole
Right.
month. Sometimes you just got a really bad review that day, or
Right.
sometimes you're hungover, or whatever it is.
Or you
And,
didn't sleep or something.
Yeah.
or you didn't sleep, right?
Yeah.
And that you have to become the character. Like I have to become the
Right.
character of Peter
Yeah.
Michael Marino.
Yes.
I can't
Yeah.
just rely on me rolling out of bed. I've got to really put on that suit of this is
Yeah.
the entity that I represent. And I would imagine even the excitement of playing stadiums and big venues on a regular basis, you sometimes have to find like what's going to get me through this one.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that way? Did you ever go in one day and go, "Ugh, I just don't have it in me today," but then you made yourself do
Yeah,
it?
I mean, there are rituals that, definitely. Yeah, definitely. There were times that I just want to, are some long stretches that can happen in travel if, routing doesn't always get done with the best interest of the performers.
Never
Right.
does.
Yeah. So, there was
Money.
one December, yeah, exactly. There was one December where I swear to God, we did Mexico, Portugal, Texas, Tel Aviv, Sri Lanka, Spain. I mean, it was just like, how many time zones can you jump in one tour? And everybody, like, I don't think that the crew even slept horozontally for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And we were all just like hanging on. I actually ended up getting laryngitis, but there are rituals that I started getting really well. I was guided to just try meditate. Instead of trying to take a nap.
Yeah, I was going to ask
You
you about
know,
meditation.
trying to just go down for meditation. I got really, really good at like a 20-minute power rest meditation the afternoon before a show, working out a few hours before the show just to get blood in my tissues,
Yeah.
you know, and get my heart rate up and wake me up, and then have enough time before the show that I wasn't just like winded, you know what I mean? Like not doing it right. But I will say that backstage, kind of pretty much everybody gets hyped up. You know, I do lunges, I move my body, I move my upper
Yeah.
body, just power moves to put power,
Yep.
not to, now that I've done a tiny bit of Tai Chi recently, and it's kind of like that, scooping up the power from the earth. I used to have this crazy, I can't remember what I can't, because it was early on in the tour when I was like getting used to the big audiences, and I would like try to sit backstage and just like receive the energy of the audience. You know, you can tell I've been in California a while because it sounds
Right.
really
Yeah.
sounds very
Yeah,
woo-woo.
man. Right.
But you know what I
Very
mean? Like,
woo-woo, yeah.
I was absorbing the energy. But you know what I mean? Just you got to be in acceptance of where you are for
Yeah.
sure as a performer, and just work with what you have that day.
What happens
Yeah.
when you get sick on tour? If you're, let's say there are 3 backup singers, it's not like a Broadway show where there are understudies that can go on. So
Yeah.
what happens?
Well, on Enrique's tour there were 2 backup singers, and we both had features, so like I could not hide in my feature. So I just really got hip to an anti-inflammatory diet and
Oh.
really paying attention to my food. I have a lot of food sensitivities anyway, so which is kind of become a blessing, because then I avoid a lot of inflammatory stuff.
What does that diet consist of? I'm curious.
No sugar, which is this is ideal, you guys. I'm not saying I'm perfect with it, but like
I'm curious.
I can't, the gluten-free thing is real for me.
Right.
I'm not celiac, but it causes inflammation in
You're
mucus.
celiac.
I'm celiac.
Oh, Nancy. And I'm actually celiac, so we had
Are
a nice
you?
little moment. Yeah, since I was 30. It was a very long time ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and I found this out right before the Pink tour, and it got really challenging, But it's like I know what happens, what the reaction is if I no dairy for sure. What else? I don't eat red meat on tour if I can help it. And again, like once a week, or if you're out to dinner or something.
And does that cause inflammation, red meat?
I mean, for me, I've come to the conclusion it's different for everybody.
Right.
For me, yeah, it's not great. It's not, if I'm trying to be like at performance every night level where I know I can count on my body, then I will avoid it.
You can do a swab and send it to a company.
Oh, yeah.
And they will tell you like all the things that you should avoid.
Yeah.
Like red,
I
green,
actually
or
did
yellow.
that.
Yeah.
I actually did that, and I had
Did I send you to my guy, Nancy?
no.
Arthur? No, okay.
No.
Sorry.
Oh, you know what? You did a long time ago. You
Yeah,
did. So
yeah.
I forgot I worked with Arthur.
Yeah.
And then I worked with someone else after my shoulder surgery. And when I had lost my voice, I had vocal dysphonia. And I did a whole bunch of testing to find out what I can eat. Plus, I'm allergic to nuts. So I had a
nuts,
whole
I'm
stuff
allergic to
about
nuts.
what, and then they were like, you have to eat meat. Because I was also that was the other thing. I was eating vegetarian for a long time. And all of my levels went crazy because I wasn't getting enough protein. I wasn't getting enough iron because I can't eat soy. I can't eat. There's a lot of stuff I can't eat. So this actual person was like, you have to eat meat, which is rare, right? But anyway,
But
it's
boom.
what it is, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's kind of the thing, is like, if you're a singer, we have a reputation for being neurotically focused on what goes in our bodies and what we do with our voices, and don't
Yeah.
laugh if you're Celine Dion and all that stuff. And but it's for real. We don't have anything between us and our instrument,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the public doesn't know that. They don't know that like performers we're athletes. I mean,
Yeah,
really.
they don't care either.
Well, and
Yeah.
also those 2 little folds. I mean, they're
So
so delicate.
delicate.
Yeah.
And I was talking in a show in an underground parking garage 2 days ago, and I can still feel it. I can still feel that I did that.
I can feel it if someone's smoking around me. It goes right in my nose, dries up my nose,
Yeah.
I actually had a thing with an audience member at CB's Gallery years ago where it was when you could smoke in a place. And they were smoking right in front of me. They were sitting in the front row smoking. And I finally had to get off the stage at one point and say, I'm sorry, can you please put your cigarette out? And after the show, they were so mad at me. They were like, we were loving you until you said that. And I'm like, well, I can't breathe.
Yeah, they were
Right.
loving
Coming
you
up my
because your
nose.
instrument was working. This is great. People, wow.
Long, long live love, the shine of the stars in our eyes at the start. Long live the fire in our stitched up hearts. Long live love. Long live love.
Celia, you're also a coach. You coach
I am,
people.
yeah.
I was going to say young people, but perhaps that's not true. It's all
No,
people.
it's different ages. Yeah, I mean, I have a really great student who is her goal is to be a working artist. Yeah, and she is so dedicated and inspires me with her work ethic.
How old is
Um,
she?
She's she might be 19 now,
Oh boy.
but I've been coaching her for like 3 years now since she was 16. And she's always like, she practices in between lessons, you guys. Like, practice in between lessons.
You're like, that's a
writes.
rarity.
Yeah, she writes all the time. So I mean, it's such a joy. I also work with, some of my favorite clients are just people with regular 9 to 5s who just want, there's a couple I've coached both of them, and they get together with their friends and play guitars and sing songs that they love, and they just want to be more confident when they're singing with their friends. And then when they get into the technique, they're like curiouser and curiouser, so it's great.
It's interesting that you use the word confident. Is that one of the major keys? No pun intended. Is that one of the
You're just
what's
full of them
happening today? What is
I
happening?
don't know, but it's a little weird.
Is that one of the keys to help someone, quote unquote, find their voice? Is it about confidence?
You know what? That's an interesting question, because I have had a challenge with that as an artist on my artist side, and I believe that it is. And well, let's see. Some people are confident without being. How do I want to say this?
Without having anything to be confident for? Or
They're
Well, there's two-
Overconfident.
pre-confidence.
You can be confident as a person, but you might not be confident about your instrument.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you're not confident in your instrument, I'm not talking about myself, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're not confident in your instrument, you're under pitch a little bit, you're not rising to the moment, all that stuff.
Well, but confidence, I guess as I'm coaching other singers, part of what they need to be confident is just to an acceptance level and a comfort level with their bodies and with what happens when they try and sing. What's working, what's not, what could help,
And what they've been told also. There are a
And
lot
what
of
they've
people who've been
been told.
told,
Oh
oh,
my
you
gosh.
can't sing, or you shut up, or whatever. There's a lot of psychology
Absolutely.
You
in
need
your
one
voice.
person to tell you that you're always under pitch, and then you'll either rise above that, again, no pun intended,
or
or
you're
you
too
will,
loud, you have
or
too
you
much
will, you will
vibrato.
stay that way, right?
Right.
There's a lot of things that people say about your voices and about you that the voice is the way people express themselves mostly, right? Whether it's talking, it's singing. And so how people respond to your voice or if you've just been told as a kid, shut up, or you don't matter, or whatever it is, there's so much psychology behind it, I think.
Yeah. I think that, what a lot of what I have to undo is either that or previous coaches telling them stuff that was
Yes.
not appropriate for the way that they want to sing.
Mm.
They like a CCM singer will go to a classical voice teacher, and they'll tell them not to do things that they need to do to get the sound that they want.
Right.
That's contemporary, I'm one of those people. I remember going in college to my voice teacher, and I brought her a recording of Blondie, and I said, how do I sing like that? without hurting myself. And she's like, no, you can never sing like that. She's damaging her voice.
Ugh.
And I'm like, but she goes on tour all year long and she still sounds like she's not damaging her voice. So anyway, and I mean, I had a rock singer, a female rock singer that told me that I saw she was like squeezing her butt every time she went for a high note. And I'm like, why are you, what's going on? What's going on here in this part of your body? And she told me that and she just got a degree, you guys, in voice.
Oh my God.
And she's like, well, I was told to squeeze my butt for the high notes. And I'm like, oh my God, that's tension, sweetie.
Not only tension, it's not going to get you a lot of gigs.
No.
It's kind of like,
Well, maybe some
really
gigs. Who knows?
right.
Wow.
But the confidence comes from just comfort, right?
Yeah.
And lack of tension and lack of stress and lack of anxiety about the mechanics of singing, the physical part of singing.
How much of it though is like teaching what music is? Like,
Oh,
right?
some.
Yeah.
Well, again, it depends on, I mean, I'll tell you my focus lately. I feel like it's important that they just want to experience the joy of singing,
Yes.
I'm not so concerned, and if they're professionally minded, they have to be able to listen and be coachable. And also, destructive habits. I had one, if they smoke and go to bars and talk loud and then come to their lesson sounding like this, and I'm like, well, what do you want to sing? And they bring me a song that they have to go in their head voice for. I'm like, we have to talk about vocal hygiene.
Right. Maybe you need to stay out of the bars for a little bit.
And some people, the technique gets them into the wrong part of their brain for creative expression. And so if it's not a priority for them to read, then I focus on listening, because the mimicry and the listening to, like, what is the distance, what does it feel like in your body when you sing the distance between notes in an interval, what does it sound like when you change registers? And also I'm thinking about this because I just went to the tailor. I went to take a couple dresses to the tailor, some vintage dresses. And the woman, and then my husband, by the way, I don't know if you know that, Nancy.
No. Congratulations.
Thank you. My husband, I went with I was like, take some shirts in, like get them, so they fit you. And the woman's looking at each shirt and each piece of clothing. And she's like, well, I could do what you want me to do, but it's meant to hang like this. This shirt's designed to be baggy and constructed this way. So we could do it that way. Or, and she looked at like what inherently that thing was and then tailored the adjustments to that. And I feel like
That's a great way to approach it.
Well, because they're like my student, my teenage student, she has a weird sensibility about music, but it's in that kind of PJ Harvey, Fiona Apple sort of way. And so like I have to listen to her and then understand what her vision is for her performance and her voice, and then decide what she needs to be able to have her voice do it.
Right.
And not try to, she doesn't need me to teach her to do scales. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She doesn't need to learn how to do scales, and she doesn't need to necessarily learn how to read, but she knows about chords. She's a guitar player. This is a very long-winded answer, but if someone's an instrumentalist, then they need to be taught how to self-accompany and also sing with proper posture,
right.
or, but they may want to do things with their body that are weird. So then it's about really focusing on that rib expansion maintained through whatever movement they do,
Right.
Anyway, so I've kind of been getting my teeth into students who are a little bit weird and who can't find a coach that understands that they need their practice that tailored, and that they don't need to be told to change their vowels too much,
Right. That's
wow,
cool.
This is really, I'm so glad to hear that people like you exist. Like you're helping people be their authentic selves.
Yeah.
And that's so rare.
Well, and it would be
especially
different
in an educational system that your educators, they've been there forever generally, and they know the track that they think you should be on. It doesn't allow you to just be weird, be different.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's really helpful for an artist to have someone like that to help them grow. So they're learning how to better their skills, but then also be themselves at the same time.
Well, and circling back to the confidence thing, if they get reinforcement on like, it's okay to listen to your authentic self and base everything on your development on that, and still be coachable, but also if that's your guiding vision, then you'll find your team, your professional team based
Yeah.
on that, and not on you should do this and you need to release a record every blah blah, blah every
Right.
period of 2 months or whatever. I don't know.
Speaking of releasing records, you have a
Yes.
record, Babylonia.
Yes.
So I listened to a lot of it on Bandcamp. It's so beautiful. It's
Thank
like a
you.
new side of you that I think is really unique and also a bit retro in this sort of beautiful way. I really love it.
Thank you.
No.
Thanks for listening to that.
Yeah, Babylonia is explain Babylonia to me.
Okay.
Where did she
That-
come from?
Where did she
Yeah.
come from? Well, you know what? I think that we were talking about, can you bring that arena performance experience into your own thing? And I was talking to the records was produced by my friend Jeremy Little, who was also like very much a performer as well as a producer, as well as a commercial songwriter and all this. And we both have talked about how our heroes like Bowie and Madonna, and there are all these stars who have had personas and how big they can get within that persona, where they don't feel like, Celia Chavez is this, and people have known me as this, and I work for other people, and that's Celia Chavez. Babylonia can be bigger than that, or just expansive and explore different territory. I feel artistically, I named her. Babylonia is my grandmother's maiden name. So
Oh.
I'm Filipina for the listeners. who don't
100%,
know.
I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, both parents, and
Which
that
I didn't
is-
know, by the way.
Oh, okay. I know.
Yeah.
When I was in New York, people would just assume that I was like Puerto Rican or something.
Yeah.
So, as being a member of a diaspora, and there's this whole thing about kind of being in between European and Latin and indigenous. It's like it's this feeling that I've actually recently heard from other friends, other acquaintances, and I was just at a literary conversation. I'm sorry,
Convention?
Convention. I was at the.
This is called Getting Older.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And there was actually a panel, a Filipino writer panel, and they were talking about the diaspora experience and how all of the people my generation and younger are expressing themselves in their art, and that it's something that I'm kind of focusing on. So it's a way of like reaching back through history. I never got to meet my grandmother because she died before my mother came to America.
Oh, wow.
So it's a way of trying to bring, I guess, that reach back and have my ancestors with me in my art, and letting her sing, letting my mother sing with me.
Was your mother a singer?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she had a beautiful voice. Yeah. She's older
Ah.
now. She's still around, but you get older and your voice isn't quite the same if you
Yeah.
don't work on it. So, but yeah, she still loves music. So,
Oh, that's so nice. So now what is next for you?
well, I have a duo project with my husband, Simon Petty, called Petty Chavez.
It's a
And,
great name, by the way.
People are always writing us, Dear Petty. We get these emails.
And then you feel petty saying it.
Oh my
Petty
gosh.
Chavez.
And we actually are recording in the studio that you see, that you've been here with me. And we're in the middle of recording a new EP, but it might grow to be an album just because we have built up so many songs.
That's
and,
nice.
We've had this studio for a while, but we've mainly been teaching in it just because, and things are kind of settling down before summer. And our studio partner, his name is Greg Johnson, and he's a Kiwi artist. He's a New Zealand artist, and he basically makes his records here and then goes down and tours and then comes back with all this, after the tour, and lives in Santa Monica with his wife and kid. And we share the studio. And so he's producing it. And
Oh, nice.
It's a nice little homegrown feel, and it's going to be really beautiful. I'm
How
really
did you
proud of
get
it.
this studio?
Oh my gosh, this was absolute luck. We got the studio we're actually not sure how long we'll have it, but we found it in 2021. So it was during still kind of lockdown, but
Right.
but it was when everybody had left their offices and apparently vacated a bunch of the studios in this building to work at home. And so there was a bunch of vacancy in the building, and it was already built out. Like, it was, all this stuff was already,
That's
the booth
so
was already
great.
built with these doors, and there's like a little riser stage in the big part of the studio. So if I'm teaching stage, can get
Yeah.
students used to being on a stage and with a PA. But we didn't know that this existed. We were looking at another space, and Greg said, "Oh, it's not quite right. It's not quite right. I'm trying to build it out in the studio." And the guy the building manager said, well, do you want to see the recording studio that's available? And we're like, yeah. And we got it pretty cheap because they just needed tenants at the time.
Right.
So between the three of us, it's really, it's an amazing find.
And it's not that
Congrats.
far
really
from you,
affordable.
right? You were able to jump in
10
your car in 10 minutes and be
Yeah.
there, right?
I can walk. I mean, we walk back and forth to some, when it's nice. And it's like a 10-minute drive,
Oh, that's fantastic.
5 minutes.
And you're in
not
Santa
during rush
Monica?
hour. I live in West LA now, but the studio's in Santa Monica. It's still there's like the border. We're just over the border.
Wow.
We have to cross the border to get to our studio.
Don't say that.
I know, right? I have
You
a
can say
passport.
borderline. It's a border.
Right.
It's a Madonna song. There we
Right,
go. We brought
right.
it back around.
Oh, good job.
Yeah.
Celia, thank you so much. I'm
Thank
sorry
Oh my
you.
gosh, that was fun.
I do want to have a conversation with you at some point about harmony, which is one of the things you
Oh,
and I
yeah.
talked about that we wanted
Yes.
to talk, but we'll have
I'm
to
writing a
come back.
book.
Oh, yeah. And yeah.
You're writing a book about harmony?
I'm writing a book, and
Yeah.
I'm working on a self-guided course
What?
with input, and
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something that there's not a lot of resources, I think around vocal harmony that teach. There's a lot of courses about harmony for musicians, but for vocalists, yeah, and
Yeah,
not sight singing, but harmony. Like what do they call them? Head charts here. The studio people here call them head charts, where stack them and you make the chart in your head. I didn't hear that till I got to LA.
And learning how to do it. It's such a skill. And I mean, I think people have an innate sense of harmony or they don't, whatever. I have a certain way that I always harmonize when I'm doing my
Yeah.
records and things. I have what I hear but she's really working on something really intricate that I think is going to be very exciting for people. And also kind of spiritual, which is what we were talking about just
Yes.
at this time of disharmony.
Yes,
Finding-
it's important.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing to be focusing on because it's so important and it makes so much sense.
Yeah,
You
thanks.
know.
Thank
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I feel enlightened just meeting you for the past hour, so thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Back at you both.
Hey, thanks for checking this out. Links to today's guest can be found in the show notes.
Don't forget to subscribe, like us, rate us, and tell all your friends about arts and craft.